Before you start to drift and your soul begins to scream, I just wanted to tell you that you're listening to a dream. That you're listening to a dream. To a dream. To a dream.
So I've been wanting to make this video for the last decade, and I haven't actually been able to make it because I keep getting stuck on the introduction or setting up the actual topic of the video. And another reason why I haven't been able to finish it is because I did not have the answer to the equation that I'm trying to lay out for you. And what I want to present to you is my journey through processing estrangement, leaving my family behind, and also escaping a psychosis that I've been in since I learned how to walk. So psychosis is this state of mind where falsehoods become reality. It's very common in this day and age with everything going on in the world. A lot of fake news, a lot of fake propaganda, a lot of just lies in the media, lies from our own administration, lies from literal leaders that we have looked up to for years. You're finding out things about them that you wish you never knew. And it is something that has become very common to see in this world, that there's this psychosis of belief where people will just deny evidence. They'll just completely throw it behind them and say that it does not exist. I titled this video Born into Psychosis because I was born to two individuals who have been in a psychosis of their own. Now, those psychoses that they deal with are both very individually different. The process for me escaping meant that I had to escape both of their psychoses in different ways. I have been dealing with a lot of mental problems for my entire life, I would say. The first time I remember feeling anxious was when my father took me to school in pre-K, and the reason I felt anxious is because I never really spent time with my father at that time, and so it's a very early memory for me, and I remember him dropping me off, and I could not stop crying for the next hour and a half. I just was so emotional because I realized after he dropped me off that I would not see him again for a while. His work hours kind of kept him away from me when I was young. And so very early on, I started to have these problems, and I would get very emotional very easily. Throughout my entire adolescence, I was a crybaby. I would cry at the slightest inconvenience. Someone was mean to me. I eventually toughened up, but it wasn't through the process of the masculinity that my father was trying to choke me with. It was very much the process of me understanding the world on my own, me learning on my own how to stand on my own, and that took a lot of time. All of this has led to the estrangement of me and my entire family. I cut both of the sides of my family off for very different reasons, but doing so started the process for me to actually get better. And eventually I got pushed into therapy, not pushed into, very much encouraged a lot by my partner to go to therapy. And I'm glad that they encouraged me in the way that they did, because I would not be as clear-headed today as I am without them. And on top of that, the other thing that I had not really understood for a while was I needed to get sober. For the last decade, I've been using weed as a coping mechanism, and I did not know that I was addicted to that coping mechanism. Weed is not necessarily addictive on its own, but the feeling weed can give you can be addictive if you use it to handle mental problems. And so for the longest time, that's what I was doing. I would get home and immediately get high so that I could deal with the stress of work. And even if work wasn't even that stressful, I still would get home and get high. And it became a problem for me because that became associated with fear. And what I did not realize is there was a turning point where instead of me using it to cope to feel better, it was the thing that was destroying me. And finally getting sober, finally cutting it all off and being clean really has opened my mind to a lot of things that I did not realize before. I walk around this world as like a new person. I walk around as though I'm experiencing a lot of this for the first time. It's also me coming to an understanding of what I've been through and how I got here. To begin, I think we should start with my father and his religious psychosis. From a very young age, he has not felt like he's belonged to anybody. He's not had a family in that sense. He's had brothers. In fact, his biological parents gave up him and his two other brothers for adoption, and they all got adopted by a Mormon family. Now, this Mormon family wasn't all great to begin with. On top of them being a part of a cult. And for those of you who don't know, Mormonism, and they also call themselves Latter-day Saints, it is a cult. It's modernized. You can call it a evangelical Christian religion, but at the end of the day, it is a cult. You have to pay in order to succeed. On top of that, it has very much built systems that protect itself from outside influence. So having this at a young age, it turned my father away from finding a family on his own to then associating the church as his family. I believe that's where he's at in this world. His reality to him, his family, his blood is thicker than water is always going to be Mormonism. It's always going to be the church. Now, the church is not a good place to be. On top of the sexism and misogyny that exists already within the systems, there's a lot that's wrong with it, and it is very much a cult. For those of you who don't think it's a cult, I will tell you why it's a cult. You first have to pay a tithing, which is 10% of everything you earn within that month. So you go to church 4 times a month, and so you're doing either 10% of each paycheck or 10% at the end of the month of everything you earned for that month. And if you don't pay tithing, it's not like, oh, well, I know you're going through a hard time. It's very much like, why aren't you paying us? What's the problem? And they use different type of tactics to kind of keep people in line with paying tithing. And on top of tithing, there's a whole other bunch of issues, but with tithing specifically, if you don't pay your tithing, they will put it on the same sin level as like being gay. And being gay as a Mormon is one of the worst things you can ever do. It's something that I actually hid from them for years, and something I actually hid from my mother for years. But the Mormon religion itself is kind of the reason why I'm alive today. There's a lot of things that you have to complete within this world in order to reach the highest level of heaven. And yeah, I say highest level of heaven because in Mormonism, there's a class system in heaven. There's the celestial, telestial, terrestrial, whatever, the 3 different levels of heaven. And in order to get to the top one, there are multiple things you have to do within this world. For a woman, you just have to marry a man. That's literally all you have to do, and take care of his children and do literally everything for him. For a man, you have to create a family, you have to serve your church, you have to pay all your tithing, and there's a couple of other temple things, but the whole goal of it, the whole reasoning for doing all of this is because if you make it to the top level of heaven, do you know what you get at the end of it? Well, when all is said and done and the world reaches its final war and we all get kind of taken up into into heaven because of the rapture, those people at the top level will all get a planet of their own. All the men will get a planet of their own. And I think for my father, that is something so important to him because he has not ever had a world of his own. He has been pushed into places that he did not want to be. He was given up at a young age. His brothers did not get along with him. His adopted father did not treat him well. He tried to reconnect with his biological father to just learn that he was a piece of shit. And so my father really hasn't had anywhere to belong, and he does in the church because the church will always give him that. The church will always be an avenue for that. And on top of feeding them this like idea that they're going to be able to control and create their own world, I'm sure it gives him this feeling of like, I can create a world where none of this bad I feel has happened, because he is very much a person that contains it all. He will not speak on his emotions. For my entire life, anytime I cried, he would just tell me to suck it up and would get extremely angry at me. I saw the thoroughness of his anger when I decided to leave the church on my own. I realized at a very young age that gay people, all queer people, were more nice to me than my entire family has ever been. And so when I reached the age of about 14, 15, Proposition 8 in California was this very much like allowing gay marriage, and they wanted us to protest against that. They wanted us to actually go out on the streets as someone who couldn't even vote and hold up signs against that. And I could not bring myself to do it because at school, all of the people that were queer that I knew and that I was friends with, they were all cool with me. They were all treating me perfect. And it's like, who am I to decide if they deserve happiness or not based on a merit of paperwork, you know? And so very early on, I decided to not be a part of the church. It kind of opened my world in a weird way. I became atheist because I was so angry with everything going on. I'd consider myself more agnostic today, but I think a lot of atheists are atheists because they're still angry at what religion did to them. And the Mormon religion is the main reason I exist today. I would not have been born without it. And the reason I say that is because in order to reach the final level of heaven, which my father is attempting, you have to have a child. You have to fulfill that duty. You have to have a child. You have to get married in the temple. There's a multitude of other things, but mainly they would always push everybody to procreate. Spreads the word. It gets more members, gets them more money. A multitude of reasons why they want this to happen. And so truly, my parents had the opportunity to not have me. And the reason I say that is because 10 years before I was born, they had a child that passed away. They had a child that grew up to about 18 months. Due to some cell disease, she was not able to regenerate the cells in her spine. And so she reached a point to where she would not be able to continue on living. And if she were to be alive today, she would be in a wheelchair, and it would be extremely hard for her to even exist among what, like, medicine exists even today. And so that should have been the sign from God that you guys should not have a child. And that's not saying that I'm, like, against my own existence. I'm happy to exist. But if I could go back and let my parents be happier people, I would. If that meant that my existence would have to come up in some other way, I would let them, because they deserved that and they did not get that, and they were pushed by this religion to basically continue trying to have a child, even though both of them were starting to hate each other. They were starting to resent each other. My father would blame that death on my mother. He wouldn't let her grieve on it. And on top of not letting her grieve on it, she immediately entered this psychosis that she has been in since that, and has just played victim at any time she can. She will bring up her dead daughter in almost every conversation, and that has not changed. So with my father and the religion, I have a very close connection to why I exist, and it's hard to come to that understanding with yourself of like, wow, I only exist because a religion told my father that in order for him to heal all of his mental problems, he has to have a child. I mean, on top of that, there's other things that the Mormons do that are just atrocious. They take advantage of immigrants from other countries. They'll pay for all of their like traveling fees and get them over to the country, and it creates this like loyalty system where they're like, oh, the church helped me get away from this horrible country, now I need to give them all the money I can. There's a multitude of different things where they kind of influence that. They also influence women at a very young age to get married. Like the second you're 18, it's like, you're supposed to get married. I remember I still had to attend church until I was about 17 and finally stood up to my father and told him no. And I realized that the church was pushing the younger women, about the 13, 14-year-olds, to start flirting with me as a 17-year-old, because it would create the opportunity for when I completed my 2-year missionary work that I would come back and they would be close to like marriage age, you know? And so it's this sick thing that exists within this church to like push everybody in the church to procreate as much as they can and to serve their duties and to pay their tithing, because the church gives them so much, and it's very greedy and aggressive and predatory. It's sick, and I'm glad that I left it at an early age. I'm glad I did not stay in that psychosis. I'm glad that I was able to come to those feelings within myself and understand that gayness is not a problem. I'm very lucky that I was able to do that at such an early age. I always think about like, oh my gosh, what if I had stayed within the church? Like who would I be? And I think about that person sometimes, and I honestly would hate him. I would hate everything about him. He'd be the worst person ever. And so for my father who not only got abused by his adopted family, but got left behind by the people that were supposed to be his blood, made the church his top priority. And I'm not going to continue my entire life trying to chase after somebody who is just reaching for an artificial light that he will never have. I reached a point where I realized that the only way I'd be able to have a relationship with him is if I continued in the church. We reached a moment of contention one day so when I decided not to go to church anymore, he would just let me stay in the car while they all attended church. So I'd be in the car for like 2-3 hours, just doing nothing on my phone, taking a nap, playing my DS. It just was something that I got used to. And at this time, I was also not seeing them as much. And so they even started to like replace my bedroom because they were gonna have one of my like step cousins come in and move in. And so I was sleeping on the couch even. Like I was the stepchild of that family. And I reached a contention with him because I just did not want to go sit in a car for 3 hours. And so I kept telling him no. And he got so angry, he choke slammed me into a dresser because I kept telling him I did not want to go. And he then took me and threw me towards the door, and I frantically cried, running to the car. And the second we parked and they went into the church, I called the police. And the police could not do anything, unfortunately. It was in a different city, so when I called them, they weren't part of the city that it happened in. So they could not do anything. I believe that's bullshit, but whatever. So my custody was supposed to be to my mother the next day. And so I did. I went back to the house, stayed in that room, did not speak to my father. They drove me to custody with my mother, and then I did not speak to him for another so I started talking to him again when I was 23. And so I did not see him for 6 years. And in that time, I served the military, I graduated, and I came to this decision in my life where I was like, maybe I should reconnect because maybe he has learned empathy. And unfortunately, he did not. I do not think that I will ever get an apology from him for that. And I'm not going to waste my life trying to get one. I've already given this man all of the beginning of my life. Why should I give him any more? And so the estrangement with my father was very easy because it was one of those things where it was like, no matter what I do, I will not earn his good grace. I will always be in the negative light that he views me in for not being part of the church. And so that part of this entire process was easy. But the process that was not easy was leaving my mother behind. So my parents got divorced because they both started actively cheating on each other different ways. One was talking to an old friend that they ended up marrying, and one was talking to a man that she had met in Nebraska who she met on a poker site. And so they got divorced because they had finally reached that contention in their relationship where my mother was tired of being told what to do and she was tired of the church. And so she reached that psychosis break where she wanted to leave it all behind. And I do attribute that to my leaving of the church as well, because I did kind of see that it was a choice. Like, I did not have to stay there, and to see that it was a choice kind of changed things for me. So I appreciate her for that. But my mother has had so many opportunities to become a better person, and she has only pushed herself deeper into the darkness. And the reason why she does that is because she's under this belief that the darkness and that pain is her power. She's under the impression that all of this pain is what makes her strong. And yeah, pain can make you stronger, but that's not the source of strength that you need to be pulling from. That source of strength needs to be coming from within the fire inside of you. And for her ego within this realm of feeling has been reinforced by not only the men that she's dated, but by her mother, who is a horrible person. And my mother's psychosis very much started at a young age, as well as my father's. With my father having to deal with adoption, my mother had to deal with her mother being in multiple abusive relationships with her own biological father, as well as other men that she had dated. And so that created a very much sense of, she always felt unsafe. She always wanted to play victim in that way. It was definitely something that she also brings up a lot, that her mother is this great person because of what she dealt with in the past. And so that idea was passed on from my grandmother to my mother. And I can't tell you where it started, but I can tell you that losing a child is definitely what nailed her into that psychosis, and she has not been able to escape since. And it only has gotten worse, and she's only leaned into narcissism to kind of deal with that pain. I know a lot of people deal with their mothers being narcissists, and a lot of it has to do with the state of the world and how masculinity has kind of pushed women into that. But with her, I have given her ample opportunity to understand that what she is doing is a problem, and she still has not changed it. To even begin with her is the hardest part, and leaving her also took me the longest to do. When my parents divorced, my mother immediately got with the guy that she was cheating on my father with, and convinced him to move in with her into a trailer park that we lived at for a little bit of time. And she convinced him to leave his 3 sons behind in Nebraska to come live with her. And that started her drinking problem, which was also attributed by him. They both had a drinking problem. And this would only be the beginning of people that my mother would get involved with that had children who did not speak to them. Unfortunately, with this one, he ended up dying because of his alcohol addiction. And something I realized later in life is that the reason why he kept pushing himself into that was actually because of my mother. I realized that she kept leading him on at the end of their relationship, and even after they had broken up, she kept giving him tiny bits and ounces of hope. And so this man was dealing with an alcohol addiction, and the only way he knew how to cope was with alcohol. Something that I find with myself to be very familiar with. And it did not take me long to make the connection of, oh yeah, I smoke weed because this is the only way I learned how to cope because of the anxiety that I learned being around my mother. And I'm not gonna attribute like, oh, she gave me an anxiety. Her actions and her attitude and the people that she surrounded me with and the way that both of my parents kind of treated my mental illness did not help the anxiety that was building within me. I am autistic and I do have ADHD, and so those are things that my parents still to this day have not taken into account. And it's important because me learning those about myself, I was able to actually become more free and my mental problems started decreasing. And one thing that did not decrease was my weed usage. My mother ended up getting with another man, and that man actually has 2 daughters who does not speak to him. And she ended up marrying him, and they also had alcohol problems. They would go out and get drunk, and they would come home and they'd be throwing each other against the walls, against the floors, just yelling at each other. And I got to this point with their relationship where anytime they would go out together for a long period of time, I would start to get extremely anxious because I knew that they would probably come home and cause problems. I had it happen in front of friends. I had it happen to the point where I actually had to get my grandmother involved, and that fear started building inside of me. My mother would lie her way out of everything. She would lie straight to my face. She would lie straight to her husband's face. She would lie straight to her family. The first time I really saw this in full force was I did not know that my mother did not tell people about this certain situation. My mother sold my PlayStation 4. She went and pawned it because she could not make rent. She talked to me about it and asked me about it, and it did hurt me a lot, and I did not want to do it, but I also did not want to get thrown out into the streets. And so I gave her my PS4 to pawn, and I remember having this little family outing, and my grandmother's like, hey, have you played any, like, are you still playing video games? And so I told her, I was like, oh no, my mom had to pawn it. And I remember her getting extremely angry at my mother, saying like, if you're short on money, why are you punishing your kid? She also lied to her about the situation. She told her that she was able to get money from somewhere else. She did not tell her that she took it from me. And so that was the beginning of learning what lies can do, and watching her do it and watching her fail at it unfortunately made me an extremely good liar. I lied to people in my elementary school that I was a background actor in High School Musical, and it got me popular with the girls that I was around in that time, but it led me to nowhere because it really was not true. It was something that I used to make friends. And I know that some of those people might look at me today and be like, oh wow, that's horrible, and I apologize for lying. That's what I got used to at that age. I would lie about everything, and I got really good at it. I got so good at it that it scares me to this day. I can gaslight so many people so easily. It feels like a superpower, but in reality it's not. I remember telling my partner about it, and she was very much like, that's scary that you are able to do that. And at the time I was like, I didn't really take that into account. But all of these things I've taken and I've learned from her. The alcohol addiction that she pushed her ex-boyfriend into, who eventually died of liver disease because of that whole thing. I'm not saying it's her fault, obviously. He's the one who chose to drink himself to death, but I very much attribute the continuation of it to her. I do think that she understood what she was doing was wrong. And I think that everything she knows she's doing is wrong, but she places this, oh, well, I was hurt, so it's okay. I think that's the thing that really got me with my mother. She said, hurt people. And it's like, no, that all that does is that gives you a reason, but it does not give you an answer to why you're still hurt. I remember towards the end of my relationship with my mother, I had made the decision that I wanted to move to a different state because I felt like if I moved to a different state, I could get a start over, I could escape all this, and I could move on and be happy. I had to deal with trying to get through therapy with her and trying to push her into therapy as well, because at first leaving her behind was not the end goal. It was kind of this thing where I was like, well, if this doesn't work out and I can't get her to change, then I need to just leave. The moment in my life that really set in stone who she was to me was when I started to go to therapy, and I finally convinced her to go to therapy. And you know what she does? She goes to the same exact therapist I went to. And I know that that therapist should not have taken her on as a client, but I am honestly so glad that he did. I'm not glad that she did, but I'm glad that he did, because a few months later, after dealing with her as a patient, he asked me a question, and he said, what's stopping you from leaving? Like, what in this moment right now is stopping you from leaving? And I could not answer him. I could not answer him, and it got to a point to where I was like, I don't have a reason. And then he's like, well, if you don't have a reason, then why haven't you left? And that was kind of the thread to starting this whole thing. What really gave me the like chains-free moment was when my grandmother died. My grandmother died, and I dealt with grief for the first time in that manner. And the problem with that grief that I felt is I felt nothing. I watched my grandmother get buried, and I remember going up and speaking at the funeral and giving them this sob story of how I miss watching a TV show with her. I remember going up there and realizing I just lied straight to all of their faces, because in all reality, I was happy she died. And that attributes to how racist and vile she was to people. She did not like any person of color. Anyone in the family that was dating one would get treated less, and that person in the family would also get treated less. And she was just a mean person, and everybody in my mother's side of the family put her on a pedestal. They gave her this glory that she did not deserve. And so when COVID, the one thing that she did not believe in, took her life, I was happy. I was happy that this world was clear of another racist. And I know that being happy at that is not a good thing. And at the time, I understood that as not being a good thing, but it was one of those things where I was like, it does not matter if I stay or if I leave, because if one of them passes, what am I gonna do? And that started a process in my head that I finally found the answer to. Can I grieve my parents while they're still alive? So I eventually started to finally make the decision to move, and I left, and I did not tell anybody. Cut off my mother's contact like months before I even moved. I moved and I did not tell anybody. I went and started my whole new life, and it was the greatest feeling of my life. I took my dog, I packed up, I have a Mustang, and so I put a trailer on the back of it, and I packed up everything I owned that I wanted to keep, and I just left it all behind. And it's been the greatest decision of my entire life. Doing that led me to meeting my partner, who has honestly been the foundation of who I am right now. I do not think that I would have reached this feeling in my life if it was not for them. They've really kind of reinforced the love that I can feel and have given me safety. That's the answer to estrangement. The answer to estrangement is grieving your parents before they even die. Grieving them as a loss before actually having to deal with them dying. Not everybody's going to reach a point like this in their life. Many people might find a point where they feel more comfortable just kind of fixing things with their parents, or they end up getting through to their parents and their parents make changes. I very much reached a point where I realized that I could not do that. I could not get them to make changes. And so for me, I realized that I needed to let them go, and I had not figured it out for the longest time. And then I remember when we lost our eldest cat last year, and it really brought in the question of grief and how to deal with it. And I remember their therapist told them that the only way to deal with grief is to replace it with more love. And that has kind of been on repeat in my head anytime that I feel pain about my parents, anytime I feel pain about my past, anytime I'm reminded about something that went on in my past. I am very much trying to replace it with love. And I spoke that so much that it's become into existence with my own feelings. And what really settled the weight of it all, I recently decided to check in on my mother, and I found her TikTok page. And her TikTok page, she calls herself an influencer, and she posts a lot of videos using AI and filters and presents herself as this Native American woman who has all of these tribal ancestors that are trying to speak through to her, and she'll use AI to recreate tribal artwork. She also writes poems that she steals from the internet. I can provide you with a few examples.
I just want to share a poem that I wrote, and the misbehaving influencer owns all rights to this poem.
You sure about that?
It's titled The Misbehaving Influencer. They called her misbehaving because she stopped shrinking to make other people comfortable, because she learned that being good does not mean being silent, and being kind did not mean abandoning herself. So she misbehaved for the right reasons. She told the truth when people preferred the performance. She chose healing over pretending. She set boundaries without apology and still kept a tender heart. She became light for the ones still finding their way out, the weary, the wounded, the ones learning that survival is not the same as living. She reminded others that healing is holy, rest is necessary, and self-respect is not rebellion. She cared deeply, but no longer at the cost of herself, because love is not people-pleasing. Love does not require you to erase yourself, and compassion does not mean you have to carry what was never yours to hold. So yes, she misbehaved by saying no when no was needed, by walking away from what drained her, and by showing others how to be soft without being spineless and strong without becoming hard. She is not here to be everyone's comfort while losing herself in the process.
On top of that, she just steals video ideas. She'll literally take a video and cover it with her little AI logo. And I called her out on it. And I called her out because I really truly wanted her to change, and she didn't. I left a comment that I was like, if you keep continuing down this path, the only way you will ever speak to your son again is by using AI. And she did not change. She did not see that as something that she was doing wrong. I realized that she would never take me seriously. No matter how much I could train myself in a subject, she would always think that she was right. Because in her head, now that my grandmother has passed, she's supposed to take that pedestal of not being questioned. She's not supposed to have anything that she does be questioned, because everything she does without a second guess. She does not care how people feel. She makes that very adamant across her entire TikTok page. She's constantly getting into problems. She constantly reiterates that she's like, I'm getting better, I'm healing every day, I'm another step towards healing. And I told her what she needed to do was to heal, and she's not gonna listen to me. She's not gonna listen to anybody. She has to listen to herself, and that's the psychosis that my mother has been in. She's in this victim psychosis where she thinks that the only way to deal with things is how she's been dealing with. And she also has this identity psychosis where that she was part Native American. And she's leaned so heavily into that she likes to use the language. She'll present her, she'll wear feathers, she'll do all these things, but she does not respect the actual culture that she's taking from. She's very much just wearing it as a coat to, again, be a victim in another way. The Native Americans have gone through so much that very much it's easy for her to be like, oh yeah, they were victimized, so if I tell people this, then they'll probably feel bad for me. And she'll use that to her advantage. She'll use that in any way that she can. And I think the worst part of it all, and it's something that I knew was gonna happen. I knew that the second I left her and stopped talking to her, that then she would add that to her list of reasons to play victim. And she surrounds herself by all of these other parents that deal with estrangement, and none of them really have the answer to why their children won't talk to them. And maybe I can give you the answer of why I won't talk to you. And that is because you will not listen. And if you're not gonna listen to me, then I'm not gonna waste my time speaking to you. I've reached a point to where there is no reasoning for me to try again, because I've spent the last 30 years dealing with everything that both of my parents put me through, that now that I'm clear-headed and enjoying the world again, I'm like, why would I go back? Why would I ever return to that? I have 30 years ahead of me that I can spend doing the things that I love. That's why this video took so long to make to begin with, is because I did not reach that point yet. And getting sober, getting mental health checked through therapy, and actually learning different ways to navigate through my pain really kind of opened this avenue for me. And I had this road of Damascus moment where I kind of just realized I'm safe, I'm loved, and it's like, why should I spend another second in the past where I'm hurting? If that's not a good enough reason for you to leave your family behind, then the reasoning you're gonna have to find on your own. And I think that's what everybody should try and take from this. Estrangement is necessary for some people to live happily and live freely. The answer to each person's estrangement is something that they're gonna have to find on their own. And to parents watching this video, getting angry at some of the things I've said, whether you're angry at the fact that I was happy my grandmother died, get over it. You guys have had years to deal with your problems and you have not dealt with it. And the state of the world that we're living in, where all of this psychosis is basically presented to us on a silver platter on the screen, it's all your fault. And I'm not saying it's you've attributed to it, but you guys have allowed this idea that the elders that we're supposed to listen to are always right. And that has led this world into believing in people that should not be believed in. And I think that is a problem that continues to this day. And I don't know if there's an answer for that specifically. I don't have the answer to how to deal with all of that, but I can definitely tell you that the generations before us did not set us up for success. We're living in a world where none of us are going to be able to afford a house, like barely. Everybody has to work almost 2 jobs just to survive. I'm very lucky that I was able to climb up in my position and get to where I'm at, but there are a lot of people that aren't that lucky as I am. I'm very privileged to be in the position that I am in, and there are a lot of people that, in my opinion, deserve the same as I do. And so even when it comes to like tipping, I'll like tip more because I want to kind of spread the wealth. I mean, fuck me, I'm a communist at the end of the day. We live in this world that has always been like steal and get ahead, and the more you gain, the more powerful you become. And look what it's led us to. It's led us to death and destruction and genocide, and allowing it to happen and looking the other way because this person is the adult in the situation, or this person is the one who holds power, so we should trust them. And doing that for so long and not questioning anything about it is the reason we are at where we are today. I definitely encourage anyone out there to very much stand your ground when it comes to things that you believe in are right, and also to not take greed as an answer for situations. Capitalism has become so easy to give into these days with different gotcha systems and different looting systems and different gambling methods. It's real easy to kind of get lost in this like, oh, I'm just gonna keep giving them money. And I'm very much someone who does it too. I mean, I buy Overwatch skins. That's probably the worst of the worst. There's a level to it where it becomes an outlet for emotion. And that is also something I saw within my family for a long time too. I've also reached a a point where I don't even know how to end this video. And now that I've said it all, I'm like, how do I close this? I think truly this entire journey was to kind of be reincarnated again. And I feel that way. I feel like I wake up and I go outside and I'm not afraid, I'm not anxious, and it's nice. It's nice to be able to like go to a concert or go to a hockey game, and I don't feel any pressure in my chest anymore. And so yeah, I'm reached a point where if I go back, there's a chance of that happening. And so why would I do that? Why would I do that when everything I want is right where I am and I feel safe? It's important for all of us to find our safety in this world. It's going to be extremely harder to find that safety. I suggest finding community, spending as much time with people that are empathetic towards you and treat you as a person. Spend as much time with those people as you can. There are a lot of people with very evil motives in this world, or just they don't know any better. And so if you can surround yourself by love, I say do it.